Has Red Bull made a mistake by promoting Liam Lawson? Just 3 months after his arrival, he was traded after just 2 races and relegated to Racing Bull's second team. What's happening with the young Red Bull driver and what implications does it have for the future of the team? Stay until the end because today we analyze the risky move that could change everything in the 2025 season. And before we continue, tell me in the comments, should Red Bull give Lawson more time, or is it time for a change? Liam Lawson's story with Red Bull began in surprising fashion. In December 2024, an unexpected twist rocked Formula One. Red Bull decided to part ways with Sergio Perez, despite the Mexican still having a contract for the 2025 and 2026 seasons. This was a bold move, as Perez had been a key part of the team in recent years and had proven to be a valuable teammate for Max Verstappen, especially by scoring key points in the Constructors' Championship. However, Red Bull decided to focus on the future and focused on young New Zealand driver Liam Lawson as Verstappen's new teammate for the 2025 season. Red Bull's decision to promote Lawson was risky, as the driver didn't have much Formula One experience compared to other contenders like Daniel Ricciardo, who had been considered for the position. Lawson, who had been linked to the team as a test and reserve driver in 2024, showed potential in the few opportunities he had to drive last season, especially during free practice and some practice sessions. However, he was not a driver who had had the necessary time to demonstrate his ability under competitive conditions. On December 19, 2024, Red Bull officially announced Lawson's promotion to the main team. The decision was a clear indication of the team's confidence in him, banking on his youth and potential to learn alongside 4-time world champion Max Verstappen. Although his Formula One career was relatively short, Lawson was considered an interesting option due to his keen adaptability, especially after having a brief stint with the AlphaTauri team in 2023, where he showed flashes of talent. At the official unveiling of the RB21 Red Bull single-seater for the 2025 season, the team made it clear that its goal was to optimize the car's balance, seeking to improve overall performance on different types of circuits. Lawson, for his part, didn't hide his excitement at joining the team, highlighting the challenge of having Verstappen as a teammate. During this unveiling, the young driver commented, "There's no one you can learn better from, but the knife cuts both ways. We're all in F1 to win, and Max is the hardest to beat." These words reflected both his ambition and respect for the difficulty of facing a talent like Verstappen. In the initial preseason tests in Bahrain, Lawson showed a promising start. On February 26, 2025, during practice he completed 58 laps with the RB21 and set a time of 1 minute and 31.560 seconds, which was considered a good start. Although he spun at turns 2 and 3, this was a sign of the challenges he would face with the car. The pressure of going up against world champion Max Verstappen, who is known for his ability to extract maximum performance from his car, was present from the start. Despite these positive first impressions, what came next wasn't as slow. Red Bull's decision to give Lawson a seat in the main team was a high-risk move. While the driver showed flashes of talent, the adaptation time and the car's performance would play a pivotal role in his success. In a team that was already dominating the championship with Verstappen, Lawson had to be prepared to work under enormous pressure, with no guarantee of receiving sufficient time or resources to adapt to a car as advanced and complex as the RB21. Lawson's rapid rise therefore began with high expectations, but the reality of Formula One and the technical challenges of the RB21 soon began to show the difficulties they would have to overcome. The 2025 season began with a reality check for Liam Lawson, who, following his promotion to Red Bull, was forced to face the pressure of playing alongside Max Verstappen in Formula One's most dominant team. Lawson's debut in the opening races of the season fell short of expectations, and his performance quickly raised concerns among both the team and fans. The Australian Grand Prix, which marked the season opener, was a disaster for the New Zealand driver. In practice, Lawson had already shown some signs of difficulty controlling the RB21, but the situation worsened in the race. During the formation lap, an incident took him out of the race. Lawson suffered a crash that took his car off the track before he could compete in the race, resulting in a disastrous result for him and for Red Bull, which had hoped for at least a solid start from its new driver. The impact of this result was not only in terms of lost positions, but also on the morale of the team, which had invested in Lawson's talent. Things didn't improve for the young driver at the Chinese Grand Prix. Lawson endured a difficult weekend in which his problems worsened. In qualifying, his times were significantly slower than Verstappen's, and they finished at the bottom of the rankings. Although his car wasn't the only one struggling in Shanghai, Lawson was clearly behind in terms of race pace, unable to improve his position in qualifying for the sprint race and the main Grand Prix. In qualifying for Sunday's race, Lawson managed only 15th place, and after other drivers were excluded, his classification improved to 12th. However, this type of result wasn't what Red Bull expected from its new driver, especially considering the team had already won championships in previous seasons and couldn't afford too many setbacks. Most alarming for Red Bull wasn't just Lawson's poor performance, but also the lack of progress compared to his teammate. While Max Verstappen continued to dominate the grid, setting consistently fast times, Lawson seemed to be struggling to adapt to the car and understand the RB21 setup. This car, which has been designed to suit Verstappen's driving style, presents a particular challenge for any driver other than Verstappen himself, further exacerbating Lawson's situation. In qualifying, the New Zealanders made significant errors, such as corner exits and wheel locks, which prevented him from improving his times. In addition to technical issues and difficulties with the car's setup, Lawson was also plagued by external incidents that further complicated his adaptation. In Australia, the driver suffered a hydraulic leak in practice, forcing him to miss crucial running time. In China, a power unit failure prevented him from participating in one of the free practice sessions, further reducing his preparation time ahead of qualifying and the race. These technical setbacks played a significant role in Lawson's lack of pace, but they also highlighted a lack of consistency in his adaptation to such a complex car. The lack of adaptation time didn't help either. Red Bull had been clear before the season. Pre-season testing was extremely short, with just a day and a half of testing. This wasn't enough time for a driver with little experience in a car as advanced as the RB21 to adapt to its unique characteristics. Lawson didn't have the opportunity to conduct further tests or accumulate more mileage to fully familiarize himself with the car before facing the tough competition of Formula One. Lawson's performance in these early races, coupled with mistakes made in qualifying sessions, meant the pressure on him grew increasingly intense. With Red Bull struggling to maintain pace in a championship where every point counts, the margin for error for the team's drivers was practically zero. Lawson, who had been promoted to demonstrate his talent, now found himself in a difficult situation, with growing concerns about whether he could truly live up to expectations. What seemed like a great opportunity for the young driver quickly turned into a test of fire, with the initial setbacks demonstrating how difficult it can be to adapt to Formula One when you don't have the time or resources to do so properly. As the first races of the 2025 season progressed and Liam Lawson's performance continued to be a source of concern, rumors about his future at Red Bull began to gather steam. Poor performance in the initial races, coupled with technical setbacks and a lack of adaptation to the tricky RB21, placed Lawson in an increasingly precarious situation. In the world of Formula One, where results are what define a driver's tenure, the pressure mounted exponentially. The Red Bull team, known for its demanding approach to performance and need for immediate results, began to question whether giving Lawson more time was in its best interest in the championship. The team had already shown a willingness to be flexible in terms of adaptation time for young drivers, but the reality of competition in 2025, with teams like McLaren and Ferrari pushing hard in the championship, left little room for error. With Max Verstappen dominating the races and the team aiming to maintain its dominance in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, Red Bull couldn't afford a second-place finish on the grid or an underperformance from its second driver. The solution that began to be most strongly considered within the team structure was the possibility of relegating Lawson to Red Bull's secondary team, Racing Bulls. This change, if confirmed, would be one of the quickest moves for a driver in recent Formula One history, given that Lawson had barely had time to demonstrate his true potential in the main team. The idea behind this potential move was to allow Lawson more time to adapt to the less demanding Racing Bulls car and thus improve his skills without the extreme pressure of being alongside Verstappen in the main team. At Racing Bulls, Lawson would have the opportunity to gain more experience and perhaps, in the long term, return to Red Bull with greater confidence and improved performance. The decision to send Lawson to Racing Bulls also appeared to be a way to optimize points for Red Bull in a highly competitive championship. While Lawson hadn't shined so far, Racing Bulls driver Yuki Tsunoda had already demonstrated more consistent performance and could be an ideal candidate for promotion to the main team. Tsunoda, although also young, has more experience in Formula One and has proven competent on several occasions, which could offer greater stability and help the team maximize its racing performance. Furthermore, Tsunoda was already familiar with the Red Bull environment, allowing him to quickly adapt to the main team car and work closely with Verstappen to achieve championship goals. For Lawson, the potential move to Racing Bulls could be an opportunity to improve and gain confidence. In a less demanding environment, he could focus on honing his skills and better adapting to the car, without the pressure of being in a team that always fights for wins. Throughout the season, he could prove he has the talent to compete at the highest level, allowing him to regain his place in the main team in the future. This relegation won't necessarily mark the end of his Red Bull career, but rather a strategic step toward a stronger eventual return. However, this potential move isn't without risks. For Lawson, being relegated to the secondary team could damage his confidence and reputation. The New Zealand driver could feel as if he's being discarded before having the opportunity to fully adapt to the Formula One level. These kinds of quick decisions can be devastating for a young driver, and the psychological pressure of being displaced could further affect his long-term performance. Furthermore, being moved to Racing Bulls could give him the feeling that Red Bull doesn't believe in his long-term potential, which could be detrimental to his personal and professional development. The team, for its part, must also consider the potential negative effects of this change. If Lawson is quickly relegated, it could send a negative message about Red Bull's driver development policy. The team has always boasted about its young driver program, and such an abrupt change could damage the image of this development system. Furthermore, the pressure on Tsunoda to adapt quickly to the main team and deliver immediate results could also backfire. The decision to promote Tsunoda might be a wise move in terms of short-term performance, but in the long term, it could undermine the confidence of Lawson and any young driver looking to Red Bull as a platform to advance their careers. Lawson's situation poses a dilemma for Red Bull. Should they risk losing the talent of a young driver like Lawson by relegating him to Racing Bulls, or should they give him more time in the main team to adapt and prove his worth? The answer isn't easy, and the decision about his future could determine not only Lawson's career path but also how Red Bull handles its driver development in the coming years. Time will tell whether this strategy is a necessary temporary solution or a hasty mistake that could cost the team dearly in the future. Liam Lawson's situation at Red Bull reflects the tensions that exist in Formula One between the development of young drivers and the immediate need for results. Red Bull, accustomed to fighting for wins and titles, now faces the dilemma of how to balance the adaptation time for a young talent like Lawson with the expectations they have for the 2025 season. While the team has the option of giving Lawson more time, early results have been alarming, and the risk of losing crucial championship points could be a determining factor in the final decision. The debate over his future highlights the inherent difficulties of Red Bull's driver development system. If Lawson is relegated to Racing Bulls, the team would be recognizing that young talent needs more time and a less pressured environment to develop properly. This move could, in the long run, benefit both Lawson and the team, allowing him to gain confidence and possibly return to the main team at a higher level of competition. However, it could also be seen as a blow to the reputation of Red Bull's young driver program, which has long prided itself on its ability to foster the careers of promising drivers. On the other hand, if the team decides to keep Lawson in the main team and continue to give him time to adapt to the tricky RB21, they would be banking on his long-term development. This could consolidate Lawson's career, but it would also increase the pressure on him to perform for a team that can't afford too many setbacks. Furthermore, staying with the main team would mean Red Bull would have to take additional measures to fine-tune the car to his needs, which could affect the team's internal dynamics. Lawson's future is deeply tied to the decisions Red Bull has made in the coming months. In the meantime, the team continues to evaluate the best course of action to ensure not only performance in the 2025 season, but also the team's future success. Will Lawson be able to overcome these obstacles and thrive in the Red Bull environment, or will he become another example of a young driver who failed to adapt to the extreme pressure of competing at the highest level? Time will tell if this decision was the right strategic move or if, on the contrary, Red Bull went too far by not giving more time and opportunity to one of its most promising talents. Formula One is a world where patience has limited value, but also where mistakes can be costly. Red Bull has the opportunity to demonstrate whether its commitment to young drivers can transcend the immediate difficulties and hold the key to continuing to dominate the future of motorsport. If you were interested in our analysis of Liam Lawson's future at Red Bull, subscribe and stay tuned, as in upcoming videos we'll explore more strategic decisions within Formula One and how they could impact the 2025 season.